Imagine walking through a factory where every station has a secret name, and nobody outside remembers why. That's exactly where this tour begins. Mid-stride, mid-sentence, mid-mystery. Someone says 13 steps, like it's nothing. Like building a car is that simple. It is not that simple. And you're about to see why. The first station is where the chassis gets built completely separate from everything else. Two halves of a car exist independently here, waiting for their eventual introduction to one another. This is where the bank comes together, bonded piece by piece, quietly, patiently, like a foundation being poured. Before there's a car, there's just this, metal and bonding agent, and someone's careful hands making sure it holds. Right beside it, the door latch assembly gets fitted into place first. Small detail, easy to miss, but nothing closes properly without it. Then comes the surfboard, and yes, it genuinely looks like one. Long, flat, strange, waiting for a motor it hasn't met yet. The names aren't random. Once you see the shape, you understand exactly why someone called it that. It's obvious in hindsight, the way all good nicknames are. This is where the rear motor subassembly gets bolted into position, quietly becoming the heart of everything. Coolant lines follow right after, threading through gaps that don't look big enough. You put the motor in. You put the chassis on. You connect the lines that keep it breathing. Then the half shafts arrive. Because the frame only comes as a top piece first. Someone still has to build the entire bottom half separately, from scratch, by hand. The steering rod goes in around here too, tucked in among coolant tubing. Every piece gets screwed together, tightened, checked, and then checked again for safety. After that, it's ready for suspension and wheels, which changes everything about its identity. Once wheels are attached, it stops being a surfboard entirely. Now it's called a skateboard, because apparently a board with wheels earns a new name. Brake lines come next, threading carefully beneath a chassis that's finally starting to roll. It's a small transformation, but it matters more than it looks. This is the moment a static object gains the potential for motion. Not moving yet, but capable of it, which changes the entire feeling of the room. Above the skateboard stage, work begins overhead, layering in complexity nobody sees later. ACK lines get installed first, snaking through gaps meant for airflow. The battery heater sub-assembly follows, tucked in with quiet precision and patience. Then the ACK compressor goes in, but curiously, it ends up in the rear. There's simply no room up front for it, not with everything else competing for space. Once that compressor sits in the back, the whole shape shifts again. Someone once looked at it and thought hammerhead shark, and honestly, they weren't wrong. The nose narrows, the rear widens, and suddenly the resemblance is impossible to unsee. There's mention of future collaboration too, hints of outside expertise joining the design conversation. Details are thin here, deliberately so, leaving space for curiosity to grow. Whatever gets discussed later, it clearly matters enough to bring up now. Next comes Stingray, arguably the most dramatic transformation in the entire sequence. This is where the battery finally gets installed into the chassis. Long cables stretch from the very front all the way to the rear. Look at it from above, and the resemblance to a Stingray becomes obvious immediately. Wide, flat, cables trailing like a tail behind it. A tunnel forms here too, built specifically to house those long battery cables. It's not decorative. It's structural, necessary, and completely unavoidable given the cable routing. Interestingly, two separate processes are happening simultaneously at this point in the line. One thread moves this direction, another moves in parallel, both progressing independently. While the skateboard side develops, another team works entirely on the bank. This is where bracketing begins, where the frame starts gaining its skeleton. Door latch assemblies get installed first here too, mirroring the earlier stage. Everything eventually has to meet in the middle, but not yet. The pedal assembly comes next, small but absolutely critical to eventual function. Bracketing continues underneath, holding future components steady before they're even attached. This is where mounting points for the rear tail get positioned. Metal brackets everywhere, unglamorous but essential, holding promises of future parts. Then arrives the wire harness, arguably the most complicated single component in the vehicle. This is where the air handler gets carefully lowered into position. More coolant lines follow, along with the radiator subassembly, layered in sequence. Everything here is built so these pieces mate together later. The next station earns its name honestly, called Electric Eel for obvious reasons. This is where the complete wiring harness finally gets installed. It's genuinely complicated work, figuring out exactly what connects where. Every wire has a destination, a purpose, a specific point it must reach. There's a quiet question about who actually manufactures this particular harness. For higher volume production, one well-known supplier handles the work. Right now, though, a smaller manufacturer handles lower volume harness production instead. It's a detail most people would never think to ask about. Regardless of supplier, these two separate builds finally get mated together here. It's the moment months of parallel work collapse into a single unit. Getting every connection correct is what allows later bonding to succeed. Miss one wire here, and problems surface much further down the line. Nearby sit the office spaces, unglamorous rooms tucked beside serious engineering work. There's a finance room, a manager's office, a shared conference room for meetings. Someone jokes that a name is still on a door, though he's since moved on. Everyone still says they love him, half joking, half completely sincere. This is also where the two parallel lines physically converge for the first time. All that separate work, chassis here, bank there, finally becomes one unit. It happens around step 5, a genuine milestone worth acknowledging out loud. Two entirely different builds spend that long apart before finally meeting. An air duct assembly gets installed at the base once the merge happens. This is the flip assembly, specifically designed for the cooling system's needs. By now, radiators and fans already sit installed toward the rear. This step is simply about connecting everything so coolant can properly circulate. There's a passing wish to eventually understand cooling system testing in more depth. It's clearly a meaningful process, one worth returning to and exploring further. For now, though, the tour keeps moving forward toward the next station. Next is anglerfish, a name that somehow makes complete visual sense. Glow panels get installed here, alongside several components sourced from outside manufacturers. The low-voltage power distribution unit goes in, alongside the 12-volt battery. Slowly, the entire front section of the vehicle starts coming together visually. This station feels different, more complete, more like an actual car forming. Then the whole instrument panel arrives as a single pre-built subassembly. Solar components get integrated into it before installation, adding complexity most people never notice. The entire panel slides in through the side in one motion. It connects through built-in connectors, meaning it's fully removable later if servicing is needed. That's a deliberate design choice, prioritizing long-term maintenance over short-term convenience. Nobody wants to disassemble half a car just to fix a screen. After this, coverage begins, starting at the very rear of the vehicle. Slowly, more panels close up the underside and front sections too. At this exact point, the first vehicle sits furthest along the entire line. Behind it, another vehicle waits at an earlier station, progressing more slowly. Further back, other vehicles are only just beginning their bonding process. Everything moves in sequence, but not at identical speeds, station to station. Right now, this particular vehicle represents the absolute leading edge of progress. It takes longest here too, because this stage doubles as bring up. Bring up means testing everything, checking the wire harness for hidden issues. Point of use controllers get verified, along with anything previously flagged but unresolved. Sometimes things get checked, pass, and then break later from wear. All of it surfaces here, in this one demanding, important station. It's considered a critical step, arguably the most important checkpoint on the line. Nothing moves forward until everything here checks out completely and thoroughly. Only then does covering begin in earnest, starting with the belly pan. The front nose cone follows shortly after, sealing the underside completely. Nearby sits a small office where someone works exclusively on service planning. There's also a marketing room, decorated with photos from years of prior builds. Faces of people who built earlier vehicles are pinned up, uncredited, mostly forgotten. Someone admits they should really start signing these photos properly. One name surfaces first, a build nicknamed Mercury, known for topping out around 5 miles per hour. That slow, careful prototype eventually evolved into something called Hermes. Progress rarely happens in a straight line, and neither did this vehicle. Then there's Apollo, another early build with its own particular story. Apollo debuted at a major industry event, representing the company on a public stage. After that event concluded, the same vehicle was renamed Artemis entirely. Then comes Gemini, a build carrying actual production weight for the first time. Testing continues on it right now, verifying performance under real-world conditions. It's already appeared publicly in a recent update, driven on an actual test track. It'll likely return to that track again soon for further testing. Interestingly, build order got shuffled slightly because of scheduling around that industry event. Artemis moved ahead in priority, while Gemini followed shortly afterward instead. Next comes a station nicknamed the Donut, focused on smaller finishing details. Seatbelt assemblies get installed here, along with headlamp components that shape its expression. This is genuinely where the vehicle starts to look like it's smiling. Small details, but they completely change how the front end reads. Following that is glazing, where remaining solar components and window glass get installed. Everything gets bonded together securely, including both the windshield and surrounding windows. Up until this exact point, there's literally no windshield installed anywhere. This station is where that finally changes for good. There's mention of ongoing efforts to balance workload evenly across every single station. Nobody wants one team overwhelmed while another team sits waiting idle. Recent meetings apparently focused specifically on solving this exact scheduling challenge. It's a constant, ongoing puzzle, adjusting work distribution as the line evolves. The next nickname station is Wobblegum, home to cowl and mirror installation. Someone jokes it might reference an old radio show, though nobody's entirely certain. The truth is, these names emerged from exhausted engineers working impossibly long hours. Working 20-plus hours daily for months apparently produces incredibly strange humor. At some point, everything simply starts looking like an actual donut shape. That mental image apparently stuck, becoming permanent inside the team's internal vocabulary. Sound-deadening foam gets layered in here too, quietly improving cabin comfort. Footwells take shape, along with early carpet installation throughout the interior space. Someone points at unfamiliar material and asks directly what exactly it is. It turns out to be carpet, viewed from an unusual angle entirely. That's simply how components look before final assembly reveals their true purpose. Context changes everything when you're staring at partially built components daily. There are still several stations remaining before this vehicle reaches true completion. Next comes something nicknamed Atari Jaguar, referencing an old gaming console humorously. Center console installation happens here, alongside door liners for both inner and outer panels. A mysterious component draws a question, careful not to touch nearby glass. That component turns out to be the rear view display, a small screen. Nearby sit sun visors, another small detail easily overlooked until specifically pointed out. Together, these represent genuine finishing touches, small but meaningful for daily driving comfort. Nothing dramatic happens here, just careful, deliberate refinement of interior details. Reaching the final station requires climbing a small set of stairs upward. This last stage carries its own nickname too, referencing a well-known agency. Wheel pants get installed here, along with seats and the front solar hood. Once these attach, the vehicle is considered essentially complete and finished. A natural question follows about whether all these parts already exist on-site. They do, apparently, stocked and ready well before they're actually needed. Someone asks specifically about the wheel pants and their swiveling mechanism function. Currently, they don't swivel yet, at least not on this particular batch. Tooling for that swivel mechanism apparently costs significantly more than expected initially. For now, 10 units proceed without that feature while tooling gets finalized. Eventually, 2 separate builds merge completely into this single finished shape. 2 lines, 2 nickname sequences, ultimately converging into one finished vehicle. Counting carefully, there are 13 distinct stations across this entire assembly process. Someone jokes that wrapping the vehicle afterward should probably count as 14. Technically, it happens outside this specific line, but it's still required work. So really, 14 total steps exist before a vehicle is fully finished. A natural question arises about who actually designed this entire assembly sequence. Two names come up immediately, credited alongside additional support from other engineers. It's clearly a carefully considered system, balancing speed, safety, and manufacturing efficiency. Someone mentions wanting to ask directly what every station name means. That curiosity lingers, unresolved, a small mystery threaded through an otherwise technical tour. Somewhere between exhaustion and creativity, these station names took permanent root. Surfboard, Skateboard, Stingray, Electric Eel, Anglerfish, Wobblegum, and finally the donut sequence. Each name marking real progress, real transformation, real work completed by real people. What started as flat metal on a workbench becomes something entirely different. Station by station, nickname by nickname, a car slowly earns its shape. It gains a motor, gains wiring, gains glass, gains comfort, gains genuine identity. By the final stair climbed, something unrecognizable at first has fully transformed. 13 steps sound simple until you actually walk through every single one. 14, if you count the wrapping most people never even consider. Behind every nickname sits real engineering, real testing, real problem-solving under pressure. This is what building something entirely new actually looks like. Up close. Not glamorous, not always polished, but relentlessly forward-moving, station after station. Somewhere in there, prototypes evolve, testing continues, and small jokes become permanent history. Mercury becomes Hermes, Apollo becomes Artemis, and eventually Gemini carries real production weight forward. Progress rarely announces itself loudly. It just keeps quietly happening, one station further.